Sarah-chan pulled her torn jacket tighter as the neon rain of Zircon City hissed down onto the cracked pavement. The smell of engine oil, fried noodles, and damp smoke clung to the streets. Sarah had been homeless for 2 years now, ever since her father's job in the shipping yards vanished and her mother never came back from the clinics. She learned quickly to move like a shadow, sleep where no one looked twice, and never stand still too long in this city of gangs, guilds, and secrets. Tonight she had settled near an abandoned market stall under a broken canopy. Her stomach growled, but she was used to it. The street lamps flickered, throwing brief golden halos before snapping back to shadow. She hugged her knees and told herself to stay awake. In Zircon, the night belonged to people far more dangerous than her dot. Then she heard it soft, footsteps on wet stone. Uneven, hesitant. Sarah froze. At first she thought it was another drifter, but then she saw the figure, taller than her, moving slowly with both hands brushing the wall for guidance. The girl's skin glowed faintly with a soft silver shimmer, alien to human eyes. Her black hair clung to her face, and her eyes were shut tight. "Hey," Sarah called softly before she could stop herself. "You're lost." The girl turned her head toward the sound. Her voice was calm, though it shook with exhaustion. "Please, I need a healer." "I cannot see." Sarah's heart jolted. A blind alien girl wandering alone in the outer districts? That was as good as begging to be robbed, or worse. She wanted to stay hidden, but something in the girl's trembling hands and the way she leaned against the wall tugged at her. "I don't know any healers," Sarah admitted. "Not in this part of town." "Then guide me," the girl whispered. Her accent stretched the words, each syllable careful. "My name is Seo Yeon. I will trust you." Trust. The word felt like fire in Sarah's chest. No one trusted a homeless teen in Zircon. She bit her lip, then finally stood. "All right, but you'll have to keep up." She stepped closer, and for the first time noticed the fine stitching of Seo Yeon's clothes' dark silk with a faint metallic trim. Nothing like the rags of common workers. Definitely not from the slums. Sarah hesitated. This girl was important. That meant dangerous. But walking away felt worse. "Take my arm," Sarah said. Seo Yeon's fingers brushed hers, gentle, almost too delicate for these dirty streets. Sarah led her out of the alley. They moved slowly, Sarah keeping her eyes sharp for trouble. Gang tags painted the walls, and drone cameras buzzed overhead. The city never slept. Sarah tried to act like she knew where she was going, though in truth she was only guiding Seo Yeon toward the lower bridgeways, where she'd once heard of a healer named Jung-hoon. On the way, Seo Yeon spoke little. Once she asked, "Why do you help me?" Sarah shrugged. "Because you asked. Because you can't see. And because if I was blind in this place, I'd want someone to care." Seo Yeon smiled faintly. Humans are strange. They crossed into a quieter quarter, where the neon gave way to dim blue lanterns. An old man selling steamed dumplings looked up at them, frowning. Sarah ignored his gaze. She felt protective, as if every stare was a threat. Finally, after weaving through narrow stairways, they found a rusted door with a painted sign, Healer Jung-hoon. Sarah knocked. The door opened with a creak, and a tired man with gray hair peered out. His eyes widened when he saw Seo Yeon. "By the stars? What are you doing here?" "She's blind," Sarah blurted. "She needs help." Jung-hoon's face tightened. "Do you even know who you've brought to my door, child?" Sarah shook her head, confused. "Seeag. The healer glanced around nervously, then ushered them in quickly and bolted the door. Inside, the room smelled of herbs and old paper. Candles flickered along the walls. Co-Yeon sank into a chair, breathing hard. Yung-hoon bent down to check her eyes with a silver scanner, muttering in Zarkonian tongue. His expression shifted between worry and fear. Sarah hugged herself, unease crawling into her stomach. What's wrong with her? Yung-hoon looked at her with a mix of pity and warning. Child, you have no idea what storm you've stepped into. This girl is not only blind. She is the daughter of Zakon, the mob boss of half this city. Sarah felt her blood run cold. She glanced at Izeo Yan, who sat quietly, her blind eyes open but unseeing. She looked so fragile, so human in her weakness. But if what Yung-hoon said was true, Sarah had just carried danger itself into the healer's home. The healer Yung-hoon paced the small clinic, his hands trembling as he set down his silver scanner. The candles made shadows dance along the shelves of jars and powders. Sarah sat on a wooden stool near the door, her legs shaking. Seo Yan rested quietly, her hands folded in her lap, as if the chaos of the city did not touch her. Sarah whispered, "You're saying she's the mob boss's daughter? The Zaken?" Yung-hoon leaned close, his voice sharp but hushed. "Yes, Seo Yan of the Zarkonian bloodline. Her father controls the southern docks, the black market, the gangs of the Undercity. He has eyes everywhere. If anyone sees you with her, they'll think you're part of something bigger. And that can get you killed." Sarah's throat went dry. She had only wanted to help. She never thought about names, titles, or power. But she's blind. She needed me. Blind or not, she is not just any girl, Yung-hoon muttered. If her father's men discover she wandered into the lower quarter, they will tear this district apart. Seo Yan lifted her head, her blind eyes seeming to stare straight at Sarah. "Do not be afraid," she said softly. "I asked you for help. That was my choice." Sarah tried to steady her breath, but a pounding noise broke the silence. A knock, no. A fist against the clinic door. Yung-hoon froze. "They're here already." The pounding came again, louder. A rough voice called, "Healer, open up. We know she's inside." Sarah's stomach twisted. She wanted to run, but Seo Yan's hand reached toward her, searching until it found Sarah's arm. The touch was warm, fragile, and steady. "Please," Seo Yan whispered. "Stay." Yung-hoon cursed under his breath. "The Zarkonian scouts. If they see her with you." He stopped himself and looked at Sarah hard. "Hide." Sarah darted behind a tall shelf of jars just as the door crashed open. 3 figures stepped in, dressed in black coats with the crimson crest of the Zakon on their shoulders. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light bio-augments that marked them as enforcers. The leader, a tall man with pale skin and a scar across his jaw, scanned the room. "Where is she?" Seo Yan straightened in her chair. Her voice was calm. "I am here." The enforcers bowed slightly, though their movements were tense. "Your father searches for you, Lady Seo Yan. Come with us. These streets are not safe." Sarah gripped the shelf, her heart racing. Lady. They called her Lady. This blind alien girl who had stumbled through the alleys, trusting a homeless stranger, was treated like royalty by these men. Yung-hoon cleared his throat. "She is unwell. Her sight." The leader cut him off. "We will take her to her father's physicians. Your service is not needed." Seo Yan shook her head. "No, I stay." The enforcers looked at each other uneasily. One muttered, "If she resists, Zaken will demand answers." Sarah felt anger rise in her chest. They spoke of Seo Yan as if she were a piece of property, not a person. She remembered Seo Yan's words in the alley. "I will trust you." Without thinking, Sarah stepped out from behind the shelf. "She said she's not going." The room went silent. The enforcers turned their glowing eyes on her. Yung-hoon hissed, Girl, what are you doing? Sarah's hands shook, but she kept her chin up. She asked me to help her. So I will. The scarred leader sneered. And who are you? A street rat? Do you think the mob listens to children of the gutters? Sarah swallowed hard. Maybe not. But she does. Esioyan tilted her head, a small smile touching her lips. Yes, she said softly. I do. The enforcers shifted, unsure. To defy a direct wish from the boss's daughter was dangerous. But to let her wander with a human drifter was unthinkable. Finally, the leader spat on the ground. Very well. But if she is harmed, her father will come for all of you. He turned and stormed out, the others following. The door slamming behind them, Sarah collapsed back onto the stool, her chest heaving. She had just stood up to the mob. What had she done? Jung-hoon rubbed his face. You are mad, girl. Mad. Do you understand what this means? You are now marked. The Zaken will not forget your face. Sarah looked at Esioyan, who sat calm, her hands still folded. Then I'll keep helping her, she said. Her voice trembling but firm. Esioyan reached out again, and Sarah took her hand. Outside, the storm thickened. Somewhere in the city's underworld, whispers already spread. A homeless human girl had dared to stand beside the blind daughter of the Zakan, and storms in Zircon never stayed quiet for long. The rain had turned heavy. A curtain of neon light dripping from the sky as Sarah led Sioyeon back into the streets. The healer Jung-hoon had begged them to stay, but he knew the longer Sioyeon remained in his clinic, the quicker the mod's enforcers would return with less patience. Sarah's thin shoes splashed through puddles as she guided Sioyeon by the hand. She had no clear plan, only the instinct to move, to keep ahead of the hunters she was certain would come. Where are we going? Sioyeon asked, her blind eyes lifted toward the ring. Somewhere safe, Sarah said quickly, though she doubted such a place even existed in Zircon. We have to stay ahead of them. The streets were alive with danger. Drone lights swept the alleys, scanning faces. The crimson crest of the Zaken appeared painted across walls, glowing faintly with chemical ink. Sarah's heart thumped harder with every turn. They ducked into a narrow stairwell where steam pipes hissed overhead. Sarah pushed open a rusted service door and guided Sioyeon into the underbridges. A forgotten maze of walkways and dripping metal beneath the main city. Down here, the air was warmer, filled with the hum of machinery and the echo of water. It was also where the gang's PROWLED. Sarah kept her arm steady, guiding Sioyeon carefully. Watch your step. The floor's uneven. Sioyeon nodded, her movements surprisingly graceful despite her blindness. You know these paths well. Sarah gave a weak laugh. When you don't have a home, you learn all the corners people forget. It's the only way to stay alive. A noise behind them froze her blood. Boots striking metal, fast and heavy. Voices echoed. She went this way. Someone shouted. Sarah cursed under her breath. The enforcers had tracked them faster than she'd hoped. She yanked Sioyeon forward, weaving through pipes and dripping chains. The underbridges twisted like veins beneath the city, but Sarah knew some paths led back into the markets. If they could reach the north side, maybe they could vanish into the crowd. They rounded a corner, only to face two figures stepping out of the shadows. Gang scouts, faces painted with glowing red streaks. They grinned when they saw Sarah and the alien girl. Well, look what we have here, one of them sneered. The boss's little jewel and her human pet. Sarah's pulse raced. She pushed Sioyeon behind her instinctively. Leave us alone. The taller scout laughed. Brave words from a rat. Hand her over, and maybe we'll let you crawl away. For a moment, Sarah considered running, but the scouts blocked the only path forward. She glanced at the pipes above. One leaked steam with a loud hiss. "Stay behind me," Sarah whispered to Seo Yeon. Then she grabbed a loose metal rod lying on the ground. The scouts moved closer, knives gleaming in the dim light. Sarah swung the rod against the leaking pipe. A burst of scalding steam hissed out, filling the passage. The scouts cursed and stumbled back, their glowing face paint smearing as they rubbed at their eyes. "Run!" Sarah shouted, pulling Izio Yan through the cloud. They bolted down another corridor, the gang's shouts echoing behind them. Sarah's chest burned from the sprint, but she kept moving. At last, they emerged into a wider space, a forgotten market square beneath the bridges. Empty stalls stood like skeletons, their tarps shredded. The only light came from flickering neon signs above. Sarah collapsed onto a broken bench, gasping for air. Seo Yan sat beside her, calm as ever. "You fight well," Seo Yan said quietly. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow. "I fight because I don't have a choice." For a long moment, they sat in silence, listening to the hum of the city. And Seo Yan turned her blind eyes toward Sarah. "Why did you not hand me over? You could have saved yourself." Sarah looked at her, surprised. "Because you asked me for help. And I don't break promises. Not even to people I barely know." A small smile touched Seo Yan's lips. Strange human, perhaps. A true friend. The words hit Sarah harder than she expected. A friend. She hadn't heard anyone call her that in years. But the sound of distant boots reminded her the danger wasn't over. "We can't stay here," Sarah said firmly. "The scouts will circle back." Seo Yeon tilted her head. "Where, then?" Sarah thought quickly. There was one place risky, but hidden. A forgotten train tunnel beneath the old sector. Few dared go there since the power lines had collapsed. But it was better than being trapped here. She stood, pulling Seo Yeon gently to her feet. "I know a place. Not perfect. But it'll keep us alive until I figure something out." Seo Yeon tightened her grip on Sarah's hand. "Then I will follow." And so the homeless teen and the blind alien girl vanished deeper into the neon maze, the sound of hunters closing in behind them, unaware that every step they took was pulling them deeper into a storm that would shake all of Zircon. The abandoned train tunnel was colder than Sarah remembered. Rusted tracks stretched into darkness, broken lamps hanging like dead stars above. The air smelled of iron and damp stone. Few dared to come here anymore. The city had cut power to this sector years ago, after a collapse. For Sarah, that made it the perfect hiding place. She guided Seo Yeon carefully down the cracked stairs. Their footsteps echoed, each sound magnified by the hollow space. Sarah's thin frame shivered in the chill, but she kept her arm steady for the blind girl. "We're safe for now," Sarah whispered. "No one comes this deep." Seo Yeon tilted her head, listening. "Safe is never certain in Zircon." Sarah gave a tired laugh. "True, but it's better than the streets above." They found an old service room along the tunnel wall, its door hanging half-broken. Inside were metal benches covered in dust and a forgotten supply locker. Sarah pushed the door shut, then helped Seo Yeon sit. For the first time since the night began, silence wrapped around them. Sarah sat across from Seo Yeon, hugging her knees. Her stomach growled again, and she sighed. "Sorry, can't offer much. No food down here." Seo Yeon folded her hands calmly. "I do not need a feast. Only rest." Sarah studied her. Even blind, Seo Yeon carried herself with a quiet dignity, as if the grime of the tunnels could not touch her. The contrast made Sarah suddenly aware of her own torn jacket, her messy hair, the dirt on her skin. After a long pause, Sarah asked, "So, why were you out there? Alone, blind. Shouldn't your father's people guard you?" Seo Yin's voice softened. My father guards with chains, not care. I left his halls because I wished to see. She caught herself and smiled faintly, to feel the city for myself. But I miscalculated. The blindness came sudden, like smoke in my eyes. I stumbled, and there you found me. Sarah blinked. You ran away? Seo Yeon nodded. A caged life, even one lined with silk, is still a cage. Sarah looked down at her hands. She had spent years sleeping under broken roofs, eating scraps, hiding from gangs. Yet in that moment, she realized Iseo Yen's cage and her hunger weren't so different. Both had lived without real freedom. Guess we're both strays, Sarah murmured that earned the smallest laugh from Seo Yeon. Yes, strays who found each other. The warmth of the words stirred something Sarah thought she'd lost, but peace did not last. In the distance, deep in the tunnel, came the faint buzz of drones. Red lights flickered against the walls, faint but growing stronger. Sarah's body tensed. They're tracking us. Seo Yeon listened, calm but alert. And they will not stop. Sarah ran to the service locker, yanked it open. Inside lay scraps of old tools, a coil of wire, and a cracked lantern. She grabbed the lantern, shook it still a faint glow. It would help them move, but it also meant being seen. The drone hum grew louder. Sarah's pulse hammered. We can't stay here. Seo Yeon stood gracefully, her hand reaching. Sarah gave it without hesitation. Together they slipped back into the tunnel. They ran along the tracks, lantern light flickering. The tunnel curved, opening into a cavern where old cargo trains lay rusting, their sides covered in graffiti, and mold. The drone lights appeared behind them, red orbs cutting through the dark. Sarah pulled Seo Yeon behind a broken train car. She crouched, breath ragged. Seo Yeon whispered, You risk so much for me. Why? Sarah glanced at her. Because if I don't, no one else will. People walked past me when I was hungry, cold, nothing. I won't do the same to you. Seo Yeon touched Sarah's hand gently. Then you are braver than most of my father's soldiers. Before Sarah could answer, a voice boomed through the tunnel. Hand her over, girl. You can't run forever. The enforcers had arrived. Their silhouettes glowed under the drone lights, weapons ready. The scarred leader from the clinic stepped forward. His voice echoed like a hammer. Sarah Chun, homeless rat. You think you can protect her? You will drown in the mob's shadow. Sarah gripped the lantern, her eyes scanning the tunnel. She spotted a cluster of loose support cables hanging above. Her mind raced. If she could bring those down, maybe she could block the path. She whispered to Seo Yeon, Stay close. When I say run, run. Seo Yeon nodded. I trust you. The words gave Sarah strength. She hurled the lantern at the cables. The glass shattered, sparks flying. The cables snapped, crashing down in a spray of dust and rock. The tunnel shook. Run! Sarah shouted, pulling Seo Yeon forward as the enforcers cursed behind the fallen debris. Together, they sprinted deeper, into the maze of darkness. Hunted by the mob, but bound now by something stronger trust. And as Sarah ran, she realized she wasn't just protecting So Yeon anymore. She was fighting for the first friend she had found in years. The tunnel seemed endless, each echo of their steps swallowed by the dark. Sarah's lungs burned, but she kept pulling Seo Yeon forward. They finally reached a broken hatch that opened into a forgotten maintenance bay. Faded paint peeled from the walls, and cracked glass panels let in faint neon from the city above. Sarah pushed Seo Yeon into the corner. We can hide here, just for a moment. But before they could breathe, the sound of boots returned. This time heavier. A dozen figures stepped from the shadows. Their crimson crests glowed in the flickering light. At their head stood not the scarred enforcer, but a taller figure wrapped in black armor, eyes gleaming like molten fire. Sarah froze. She didn't need anyone to tell her who this was. The stories, the whispers in every alley, all said the same. Zakon, the mob boss of Zircon, lord of half the city. The enforcers bowed as he approached. His voice was deep, steady, dangerous. My daughter runs from me, and a gutter child dares to steal her away. Interesting. Oyan straightened, lifting her chin, though her blind eyes could not see him. Father, I chose to leave. I wanted to feel the city, not rot in your golden cage. Zarkon's gaze hardened. You are mine to protect. No, Oyan said quietly. I am mine. The words cut like a blade in the silence. The enforcers shifted nervously. Sarah swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she stood firm. She's not a possession. She's a person. She asked me to help, and I did. That's all. Zarkon turned his molten gaze to Sarah, studying her as if weighing whether to crush her or laugh. A homeless rat dares speak to me of possession? You think you can protect her? Sarah's voice shook, but she kept her ground. I don't know if I can protect her from all this, but I won't walk away. For a long, tense moment, the mob boss said nothing. Then he laughed, low and cold. Bold. Humans are strange indeed. He gestured, and his enforcers stepped forward, weapons ready. Give her back to me, child, and I might let you crawl away. Oyan lifted her hand, reaching blindly until it touched Sarah's arm. I trust her, father. Not you. That stopped him. Zarkon's jaw tightened, but there was a flicker in his molten eyes' anger. Yes, but also something else. Doubt. Sarah realized this was her only chance. She stepped closer, voice steady though her knees trembled. You rule with fear, but even your daughter would rather trust a stranger from the gutter than her own father. That should tell you something. The enforcers tensed, waiting for Zakon's wrath. But the mob boss stayed silent, his gaze heavy on Sarah. Finally, he raised a hand, and the enforcers froze. His voice was low, like a storm contained. You are brave, little human. Or foolish. Perhaps both. I will not kill you today. Oyan's grip on Sarah's arm tightened. Zakon turned, his cloak sweeping behind him. But know this, my daughter walks a dangerous path. If you stay at her side, the city will devour you both. He strode into the shadows, his enforcers following, until only the fading echo of boots remained. Silence fell. Sarah's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the floor, shaking. He just left. Oyan knelt beside her, a faint smile on her lips. Because you stood. No one speaks to him like that. Not even his generals. Sarah laughed weakly, the sound half a sob. I must be insane. Or human, Oyan said softly. For the first time in years, Sarah felt something break open inside her chest, not fear, not hunger, but hope. She looked at Oyan. So, what now? You can't go back, not after this. Oyan nodded. Then I go forward. With you, if you will have me. Sarah blinked, stunned. With me? I don't even have a home. Oyan reached for her hand, finding it with ease. Then we will make one. Not of stone or silk, but of choice. That is more than any palace. Sarah squeezed her hand, warmth flooding her despite the cold tunnel above them. The neon city roared on, unaware that somewhere in its forgotten tunnels, a homeless teen and the blind daughter of a mob boss had forged a bond no fear could break. And in Zircon, whispers had already begun, of the strange human girl who stood against Zakon himself, whispers that would soon become legend.